of other countries and whatnot, right? Because 2AR, you just mentioned this chick too. I might as well get to her right now.
A social media influencer vanishes while on a trip to Nigeria. All she leaves behind is a cryptic message to her thousands of followers. She's been abducted, and the kidnappers are asking for $1 million in ransom. But everything is not as it seems.
I was just bored and having fun, just getting a laugh.
Just in case you missed what she said, here it is once again. Influencer Wo Vicki says she faked her own kidnapping because she was bored and says she wanted a laugh.
Sometimes, you know, you want to have a little fun. The Bible says laughter is good for the soul. Sometimes I be wanting to laugh. And this is how I find that funny.
In case you're unfamiliar with Wo Vicki and her chaotic energy, I'll give you some background. Her real name is Victoria Rose Waldrop. She's 24 years old and is originally from Atlanta. She rose to fame as a social media influencer, and to be fair, she does have the followers. 1 million on YouTube, 3.7 million on Instagram, and more than 7 million on TikTok. She's known mostly under the name Wo Vicki. Her rise to fame came back in 2017 when she used the N-word in several of her videos and claimed to be black. She's since been called out for blackfishing from major celebrities like Snoop Dogg because she claims to be black, but she's actually white.
Yes, my birthday is March 7th, but July 19th was the day I found out I was black. Like, my whole entire life, my mom kept telling me, you're white, you're white. I never believed her because I knew I was black.
So she's clearly been controversial.
Bruh. It be shit like this to where I start asking myself. I just always have to ask myself, how do we let these people become famous? Someone please. Look at this. Look at this. Black don't do this. Let me show you what black don't do. You see that redness? You see that redness on her? Black don't do that. She playing with the culture, yeah. Ain't not a bit of melanin in that skin right there. You see that all that red right there? I'm trying to tell you. Been a nut. Like, and then you faked your kidnapping because you wanted to laugh. 3.7 million followers. They're pretty much just entertained by what? I don't get it. Can barely use the damn machine. Can barely use the goddamn machine. She couldn't even. Lord have mercy. Black though. I tell you. These are the people that we make famous, y'all. This is our website. My Jesus, Wo Vicki. I was trying to see if there's an OnlyFans link. I wasn't going to click on it, but I just wanted to see. Don't even got a website, just to. But like I said, this is the people we make famous, y'all. I guess this is where she faked her kidnapping in Lagos. Lagos, Nigeria. That's terrible. She faked it in Lagos, Nigeria.
In the past, but has somehow still managed to maintain that pretty large following. And recently, she made another questionable move. She told her millions of followers that she'd been kidnapped. The message was posted on her Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. It was posted on December 29th and read, quote,
Lord, it was Nigeria. Well, so first you faked the whole I'm black thing. Then you got the nerve to use the N-word. Then you fake your kidnapping for $1 million in Nigeria. Nigeria already known for scamming. And then you gonna fake it. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord.
I have kidnapped Vicky. She is with me in Nigeria. I'm demanding $1 million for her release. So right away, her followers are getting nervous. They believe Vicky has actually been abducted overseas, which if it were true would be a very...
That was the joke. Her ignorant ass. That was the joke. I don't think anybody caught that, but that was the joke that she was trying to run. Because Nigeria is known for scamming. Which I've showed videos on that where the Nigerian scammers got caught by the guy that was faking his voice. I showed y'all the video on that before. But literally, that's what her joke was. She was trying to make a joke about Nigerians being scammers, which she's white. That's not necessarily a good thing to do. I'm just saying, this how you have 3.7 million followers still, I don't understand. And then you made a joke saying that you got kidnapped in Nigeria. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord, the people that we make famous out here.
very serious matter. But pretty quickly, Vicky actually fesses up, saying she made up this entire thing because she was, quote, bored and wanted a laugh. I'll let her explain it.
Sorry about that. Everything good, y'all. God bless. God bless.
And then putting cornrows in her hair while she talk about it. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Sorry about that, y'all. It's all love. I love y'all. We love y'all. I was just bored and having fun, just getting a laugh. Just getting a laugh in. That's it. It's all love, though.
I was wondering where that accent come from. She from Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, so that's why she talk like this. Now it makes sense where the confusion come from. I ain't talking about my confusion. I'm talking about hers.
I was just having fun with my brother. Everything good, though. Everything good.
You having fun with your brother. You tweeted to the world you got kidnapped, but you having fun with your brother.
I'm sorry about that. Please forgive me. We kind of got carried away with the joke, you know? We just like to have fun and joke, you know? I don't drink or go to the club, so this is how I find my entertainment. You know, it's probably not the best way to do it. I should probably be like reading the Bible or something like that, but sometimes, you know, you want to have a little fun. You want to, the Bible says laughter is good for the soul. So I be wanting to laugh. And this is how I find that funny. You know, I don't like date really. It's not really much people I could date because of my Christian values. So this is kind of like how I have fun. But, you know, we all struggle in different areas. So, you know, I'm not saying this was the right thing to do, but I take accountability and ownership. I'm sorry for anyone that I harmed in the process, but it's all love.
Vicky made a statement about all of this too. She posted this to Twitter, and here's part of what she wrote, quote, "The prank started with us calling people I know from America. Then my brother from the USA posted it, and it ended up on blogs. Afterward, my brother from the USA suggested I make a tweet to keep it going, saying it was a good prank and that father was a great actor. He even mentioned we could make money by creating cryptocurrency based on the prank. Father and I agreed, but in hindsight, it was a terrible idea. We weren't thinking at all. It quickly became clear how bad this was when his friends started calling him concerned. That's when we decided to go live and explain that it was all fake. Those videos you've seen of me trying to explain myself are from that moment." All right, I know you're multitasking when you're watching our videos, but if you're out running errands,
it'd be shit like that. I'll be saying to myself, why on earth do we have these type of people famous? Why? Just why? She laughing while she talking about accountability. Yeah, she really don't give a fuck. She really don't give a fuck because at the end of the day, she's still gonna keep her followers. At the end of the day, people are gonna just side eye with this, and whoever is her follower probably is on the ignorant and dumb side. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. Whoever is one of her followers and on some really entertaining her bullshit, it probably is on the ignorant and stupid side. I'm not sugarcoating that part. Ain't no way in hell you entertained by this. There's no way that you are entertained by this every day. There's no damn way that you entertained by this stupidity every day. What the fuck are you even famous for? For saying nigga? That's for being white and saying nigga. That's what you really famous for?
b.l.a.c News to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Right away, Wo Vicky's prank drew parallels to some other infamous kidnapping hoaxes like Sher Pini or Carly Russell. Sherry's story is a bit more famous, so let's start there. She was out jogging near her home in Redding, California on November 2nd, 2016, when she just disappeared. Sherry was gone for weeks, during which time her disappearance became a media sensation. There were missing posters, candlelight vigils, and a major investigation into her apparent abduction. But then all of a sudden, on November 24th of that year, Sherry just showed up again. She said her captors had let her go. Right away, it sounded a bit off to investigators. They did some more research, and by March 2022, she was charged federally for faking her own kidnapping. For all this, Sherry took a deal, pleading guilty to 1 count of mail fraud and 1 count of making false statements. She was actually sentenced to 18 months in prison and 3 years of supervised release after that. She was also charged $300,000 in restitution to cover costs of the police investigation. A more recent example of a fake hoax is Carly Russell. That's an Alabama woman who claims she was kidnapped in July of 2023. Carly called 911, saying she found a young child alone along the interstate near Hoover.
This was the one that her boyfriend left her immediately after. Said, "Bitch, I know you ain't had us looking for you, and you was down the street."
Alabama. When police arrived to this location, they found Carly's car, but Carly herself was missing. She reappeared about 48 hours later, and she told everyone she'd been abducted by a man in a tractor trailer. She said this guy forced her to undress before taking naked photos of her against her will. But days later, Carly eventually fessed up to all of this, saying she made it up and she'd never even been kidnapped. In March of 2024, she pleaded guilty to 2 counts of filing false police reports.
See, the difference is with Wo Vicki, and the reason why they haven't necessarily, they might arrest Wo Vicki, but the reason why they probably haven't yet, similar to these two, is because Wo Vicki pretty much fessed up before there was an actual police investigation. She stopped it at just a tweet and whatnot. It didn't get to everybody using their resources and money to actually find her before she fessed up. That's why these two are going to jail. That's why these two went to jail, because actual money was used by the state to locate these two stupid motherfuckers. Wo Vicki at least fessed up on social media and said, "Hey, I'm okay. Before cops come looking for me and all that, look, I'm all right. My family think look, I'm good. I'm good. Y'all don't gotta come look for me, none of that." These two dumb motherfuckers the cops was already looking for. And like I said, using state resources and funding to try to find them before they fessed up. That's the whole point.
She was sentenced to a year of probation, 100 hours of community service, and even slapped with an $18,000 fine. But let's get back to Wo Vicki. I still have a lot of questions about her hoax abduction, so I'm going to bring in retired FBI agent Colin Schmidt. Let's start from the top, Colin. When a report comes in for an abduction, right away, is that taken seriously?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've worked several kidnappings when I was in the FBI, and generally speaking, the abduction or the report of abduction obviously would go to a family member, and then local law enforcement, and then when they would call in the FBI, because there's an inherent assumption that there's an interstate nexus to every kidnapping. And then at that point, the FBI starts ramping up resources to support law enforcement to find the person that was abducted.
And if this is a real abduction, let's just say that it is, time is of the essence, right? They always say the first 24 hours or first moments after all of this are the most important. So it's really important to get a jump right away.
Absolutely, yeah. So the sooner law enforcement is brought in, the sooner they can freeze potential areas of evidence, whether it be digital or abduction location or talking to people, because memories are very ephemeral, so they kind of disappear rather quickly, as well as video, as well as canvassing a neighborhood, everything you can do to find out who may have done this.
You and I have talked about abductions in the past multiple times because unfortunately they do happen. And something we keep going back to is the cell phones because we all have them with us all the time. They have location, who we talked to, what we were saying. So is that super vital for the person who was abducted to go through their cell phone if they left it behind?
Yes, that's actually the first step. So hopefully they have the law enforcement has access to the phone. They can get into it, because the phones are getting more and more encrypted and harder to crack. And so once they go in, the first thing they're going to do is look at the text history. And then the next step would use some digital forensic tools to kind of rip the history out of that phone to find out maybe geolocations or interactions, or even a web history of what they were downloading.
You talked about the web history, and I want to ask about social media because it plays a role in this case. But even hypothetically, we all have our personal Instagram, our Facebook, whatever it is, even if we're not an influencer. Is that something that FBI agents would take a look through, the recent photos we posted or things we were searching?
Absolutely. All of your digital exhaust is going to be reviewed by investigators. And I had worked a reported kidnapping many years ago, where the person had recovered themselves and reported they had been kidnapped. And the first thing that we did was we went into their web history, and one of the first searches they made was how to fake your own kidnapping. So obviously, from there, we understood it was a hoax kidnapping, and then we had moved on.
We've heard about a couple hoax kidnappings just generally. I mean, Sher Pini jumps into my mind, or Carly Russell, a couple of these names that made headlines because they did do this. And you're mentioning your own case that you dealt with. So this does happen. People just fake their own abduction.
Yeah, for a variety of reasons. It's usually from at least that case that we were dealing with from this was a teenager in her, well, she was 19 or 20, and it was a effort of her for attention seeking behavior. She certainly got attention because there was 50 FBI agents out there looking for the suspected kidnapper, as well as the law enforcement that was involved.
This got 3 million, almost 4 million followers. How much more fucking attention do you need?
And there was a huge um, cost of resources while we were undergoing this investigation.
Yeah, it does sound like that person in the case wanted attention. That's also what we saw with Sherry Pipini. And I think we could probably say the same for Wo Vicki, this girl who has millions of followers. Obviously, she likes attention of people on TikTok and Instagram. Do you think that's why she did this? She said it was a prank, but do you think she just wanted the attention?
I can't get into her mind, but certainly she's in the media right now. We're talking about it, and from my understanding of influencers, good or bad publicity is what they want. They don't care how it's generated, so they can get more clicks and more people watching and more followers. So from that perspective, it looks like she achieved her objective. She got more attention. The problem for her is that there may be some consequences for what she has done.
Yeah, and to start, she put this out on a tweet and people were believing her. This isn't something you joke about because it's something very serious. So her followers, even friends or family, got nervous. Hey, is something going on? So let's say that this really happened. A high profile person like her who has a huge social media footprint is abducted. Does that make things even more difficult because she's interacting with thousands, millions of people all over the world all the time? So her social media might be harder to comb through.
Well, the social media would be harder, but frankly, she'd be easier to find because there's more witnesses and more people who know what she looks like. So, from that perspective, yeah, there would be a lot more people who would be able to give information to law enforcement to give an idea that they may have seen her on the street, or if the FBI, for example, did a press release and, hey, have you seen this person? And if this person had actually been kidnapped and she's not sitting in a hotel room or a warehouse and she's actually out and about, there's a high probability somebody's going to spot her and report that to law enforcement.
Yeah, that's a good point I didn't think of. If a celebrity or someone who is notable, if we recognize their face, they're obviously going to be easier to spot if they are out and about. So I'm glad you brought that up. My next question with all of this is she's an American and she said that she was abducted in Nigeria. So that's obviously an international crime here. And if we're thinking like FBI agents thinking, okay, this is real, she really was abducted, does that make things more difficult because she's an American who went missing somewhere else?
Well, it is more difficult because the FBI has no jurisdiction in Nigeria. They would have to work with the local authorities there and to assist in the investigation. The fact that she's an American, if she was actually abducted in Nigeria, the FBI has primary jurisdiction, and they would work with the State Department as well as the local authorities to find this person. And that's why doing something like this, it kicks off a huge process where a lot of very powerful people and powerful organizations start getting involved. And sometimes it's hard to turn that process off. So I don't think she was thinking this through, as well as the fact that she's bringing bad press, so to speak, onto the country of Nigeria, which they had nothing to do with this. This is an influencer trying to achieve some sort of agenda or objective.
I just keep going back to the fact that this is so serious to report. It's why we could get in trouble for calling 911 if there isn't an emergency, because it's a waste of resources. We could be taking those resources from someone who actually is in peril. I just can't get over it. The next part I want to ask about is her tweet itself. She mentioned specifically that there was a ransom, $1 million this person was requesting on her Twitter. Is that something that a true captor, a real abductor would do, reach out for ransom?
Well, they do. They're very rare. Most of the time, when you have an abduction, it's a family member, or a domestic issue between parents over a child. And then when there is a ransom demand, automatically the FBI gets involved, especially a $1 million ransom demand. In terms of what's going on, I'm sure they were kind of taking a step back because on the face of this, it seemed a little far fetched, and then it obviously came out, what exactly happened. But starting to throw words and things like that around, then you really are kind of kicking over a hornet's nest of resources and governments when you say something like that.
You said it kind of looked far-fetched. This kidnapping, this alleged abduction happened via Twitter. That's when it was kind of announced. So as a retired FBI agent, you're looking at the tweet. Are you worried right away when you see it, thinking it is real, or does it completely look, it's a little fishy?
Well, it came out of nowhere, and from what little I understand about the case, her connection to Nigeria is pretty thin. And the fact is that Nigerians generally don't kidnap Americans because there has to be some sort of a reason, as well as the fact that it doesn't appear that she had any travel history, and maybe she did to Nigeria. So just kind of throwing that country out like that, and international kidnappings for ransom are also very rare as well. So just like I said, right on the face, it kind of looked like, frankly, far-fetched. And I think the authorities kind of took a step back and looked at the source and let this develop before they jumped in. I hope they did. Otherwise, it would have been a huge resource draw.
And I think that's the case because we haven't heard about widespread searches or the FBI with boots on the ground. I think you're right that it was kind of, she announced that she was safe and well before any of that would have happened. I'm also wondering, you kind of touched on this, but I wanted to circle back. If this tweet came out and she didn't come out right away and say, hey, I'm here, I'm safe, the tweet is out, we think that she's abducted. Is this specific instance one that would be on the FBI's radar?
Well, I don't know for sure. Kind of, once again, I have to get more details. But if they would make some reasonable inquiries, and somebody would have to complain to the FBI, they're not going to go ahead and start an investigation based upon a tweet. It would have to be a family member or somebody that had a role in her life that would come forward. And the FBI is not going to generally start an investigation based upon what's on social media. They're going to want to have somebody come forward like that said, hey, we got a phone call that had a ransom demand in there. We got an email. We got something direct, not something that's kind of blasted out to the entire world.
The through line throughout all of this is that it is a crime to do this, to waste resources. I mean, I personally think it's unethical, but also people have been charged. We mentioned Sher Pini or Carly Russell. They face charges for false reporting. Do you think in this instance she could face charges? I mean, it was just a tweet and we don't think she called any emergency responders, but could she face charges?
I, I don't think so because it was so rapidly, it went up and then it went back down. And the if there had been resources that had been expended on this, then I think there had been some prosecutorial involvement and some investigation on this. But it doesn't appear right now that anybody expended any resources. And frankly, the people who were in charge didn't really take it seriously on its face. That's what it appears. So, should she be charged at this point? Well, I'm not really in a position to say that, but I think.
And that's what I was talking about. So the main reason she's not going to get charged is because actual resources were not used for her to actually be charged or anything. So it wasn't like her family had said, "Hey, 911, I'd like to file a police report. My daughter is missing." You know what I mean? Or my girlfriend's missing. It wasn't like anything was filed. Once nothing was filed, pretty much she's going to be let off the hook for this type of thing. So